virtual interview for the newsletter, The Occasional Hatch, our October issue,
Right.
which is our first issue. You're our first interviewee. Is that what that's called? Like, interviewee?
It's all good. I get it.
Yeah, we're planning to do one every month.
It's okay. If you want to interview me every month, it's fine too.
An interview every month with a different person every month. And we are just hoping to give like students kind of like an insight to maybe what's being an adult like, what being an alumnus like, stuff like that.
Cool.
Alright, so we're gonna start by you telling us a bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Kevin Porras. I think based on your questions, I was supposed to respond to my age, which is 30. No, it's 30. It's 30. I can't believe I'm actually saying that now. I am an alumnus of Times Square Academy, class of 2010. I went off to Providence College to study finance, graduated there in 2014, and currently I'm a vice president at Silicon Valley Bank, a division of First Citizens Bank.
So can you tell us about how Times Square was like when you were still a student?
So it's funny, right? Because I actually went to 3 high schools. I started off at Del Sesto High School, which is Springfield Middle School at the time in Hartford. The school closed, so I went off to Mount Pleasant High School. From Mount Pleasant, I joined the lottery here. I didn't think I was gonna get in at all. And I got in. So I came to Times Square in the 10th grade, I'll say. So I was here for about a little bit, 2 years, which was really uncomfortable because everyone else was here since like middle school or kindergarten, right? So it was like really awkward to kind of like be the new kid. Everyone was just like, oh, we finally got a new kid for the first time in like 10 years. And it was like odd. Like everyone was just staring at me. Mind you, I'm coming from 2 different schools in a very different time frame, right? So I came here and it was very different. One, the uniform, I wasn't used to it, right? I came from public schools. I was used to making sure my Jordans were clean, my sneakers were fly. Like at the time, we were wearing baggy pants and baggy t-shirts and fitting. I know, it's crazy. So we were that was like my priority to come here to like wearing a maroon button down. It was just like, whoa, like, right? Like it's very different. It's very unusual, and it was a culture shock. However, I was always extremely motivated and disciplined regardless in both schools. So when I came here, it didn't really change. But the difference was that everyone else was just as good as I was, right? Or at least just as competitive, which is different, right? So not only that, but it was interesting. The school is very diverse, right? I never went to a school where at the time, the majority of our faculty and admin looked like me. And it was very interesting to actually have someone that looked like you, that understood where you came from and understood your own struggles. And it was nice. So if I had to define or explain Times Square in a few words, I'd say it was very rigorous and it was very challenging. But it taught me how to think. And I think that's one of the most important tools that I've taken from this. Thinking outside of the box is a critical component to adulting. So I'm very thankful for that.
I mean, not the way.
Listen,
the button down and the tie.
Listen, no, I wasn't. At the time, there was an individual who was the dean of students, Mr. Evans. He was no joke. Like, if this guy saw your shirt slightly untouched, you were getting in trouble for any little thing. So, I came in again from this like public school mentality, like, oh, I'm gonna slightly sag my pants a little bit, but it didn't work out that way, right? So to answer your question, I didn't wear a tie. I didn't even know how to tie a tie at the time. But my class at the time started wearing blazers. That was like the first thing. We thought we were so cool. We were like, hey, like let's compete with LaSalle, because if you think about it, our colors are so similar. So when you're in KP, we didn't know if it was like LaSalle or Times Square. So we were like, all right, we want to compete with them. You wear a tie too. It didn't really work out for all of us, but it was cool, and it was different. So I think the way it distinguished us from like LaSalle kids at the time was like we would still be wearing like a fitted or like some sort of Scully. That was the distinguishment from us.
I'm a member of the Times Square Board of Directors. What is your role?
Yeah, I am the chair of the board of directors, also the vice president, and I'll tell you how I got there. So a few years ago, someone reached out to me and they were like, hey, like we really want to get the first alumnus on the board of directors. And it was cool, and I was like, all right, like I'll join. I joined without understanding truly what I wanted to do with the board, right, at the time. My focus was I wanted to create an alumni chapter for the school. I think it's a critical component, something that's missing right now. Why is that important? The alumni is essentially the foundation for any school. Why? It brings mentorship, brings networking, and it fundraises, right? It provides capital to you all, the students. So that was my main focus. We have a lot of successful alumni, and I'll try to put you all in contact with these folks because they're extremely successful now, and they're all doing really well. So the end goal is great for you all, I'm telling you. However, during a reshuffling of the board, I ended up becoming the vice president and also the acting chair. What does that mean? Truly, like, what does it mean to be a board member? Our goal is to essentially provide governance, high level, macro level looking, and making sure that we're just a limited partner to school. You and your families and the teachers are all the general partners of the school, which means that we're here to support you all and to make sure that anything we can do in order to improve your education and improve your time here is critical. The key things that we do to make sure is just financially, we want to make sure that the school is doing okay. And then two, we want to make sure that the right people are in leadership positions, such as hiring the executive director, Keith Oliveira, and also having our special advisor, Heidi Harris. So that is essentially what we do. But to kind of answer a length question, I've been on the board for 2 years, and I've been the VP for almost an acting chair as well for about a year.
What does it mean to be acting chair?
I basically have the luxury of running the board. So I am the person who has to lead the board on every meeting. Technically, based on technicalities, it's also my responsibility to make sure that everything is running smoothly from a board position, but also from an administrative position as well.
So you're the big boss?
I am not the big boss. I'm just here to help.
What, if anything, influenced your decision to come back to Times Square?
Right. You know, I was one of you all at one point, right? Don't get fooled by like the way that the hair is styled now. I had a nice 3 and a temp on the sides for a long time. It's true. You just kind of develop and change over the years, right? Based on where you are. And for me, it was always very important, the education. Although I'm in finance, it was always important on making sure that BIPOC kids have just as grand of the opportunity as any other kid across the country. To me, it means a lot, and I think that sometimes we're overlooked based on our circumstances or where we come from. So honestly, I thought that by coming back, it was an opportunity to really focus on you and figure out how can I somehow, where I am in my career, be able to start creating different opportunities for you all, and maybe tap into the different alumni of the school and figure out like how do we create opportunities for you all so your journey is a little bit easier than it was for us.
Are you working with Ms. Bree on building that alumni chapter?
No. So what happened was, at the time when I originally generated this concept of creating this alumni chapter, there was a few, I guess like a period of standby. So it's great to hear that Ms. B is generating this alumni chapter, but I think going forward, the focus is going to be is perhaps a board member will work with her hand by hand in order to generate this database so you all can tap in, right? That's the key. If you don't have the information, then how do you reach out?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the goal, and hopefully we can start creating some alumni events, right? It'd be awesome for you all to start meeting some of these people and seeing these people and for them to tell you their stories about what it was like to be at Times Square.
I'm waiting for our 10-year reunion.
Oh my God, I graduated in 2010, so my 10-year was 2020, COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting for mine too.
Growth here is pretty integral to the development of our school. but students have at times where also play an important role in the development of the school.
Yeah.
What do you hope to see from them?
You know, school is supposed to be a joyful experience, right? And sometimes I think we get distracted with standardized testing or the pressures of going to college and just trying to be successful. But in reality, this is the only time you're going to have, and then obviously the next chapter of your life if you pursue higher education, to really hang out with your friends, right? Hang out with your friends, to learn from brilliant minds, to really pursue a goal and allow like the world to be your oyster in a way, as cliche as it sounds, but it's true. So what I would want from students is to really enjoy this time frame, to stop thinking so much ahead of schedule, right? Think 10 years down the line, what am I gonna be, a lawyer, I'm gonna be a doctor, whatever it is, right? But to enjoy the moment, because it really doesn't come back. And to really appreciate the people around you at this moment, right? Because you're gonna learn a lot, and this is essentially your foundation going forward. So whatever you learn from here, it's just gonna continue to build over the years.
Yeah. And what do you say to those kids that leave high school hating it?
I think it's subjective, right? When I left Times Square, I enjoyed it because it was the only opportunity I ever received where I was fully challenged. At the time, we had a teacher here who used to make us do theory presentations, which we had to read books and then create some sort of theory analysis and some sort of discussion forum about life and combine it all together. And I never really had that, right? Like never had the opportunity to like read Steinbeck or Thoreau or even Nietzsche to that and combine it with what it is today. And that was just awesome to be able to think outside the box, right? Just because we come from inner city, or they call us inner city kids, or we come in from the south side, wherever it is where we're from, doesn't mean we can't think just as well as anyone else. So for those kids that leave not loving the school, I'd love to have a discussion why, right? What is it that caused that? Was it the culture? Was it their experience? Were they thinking too much ahead and not enjoying the moment? Or was it a lack of being challenged, right? I would say that if you take the opportunity to truly enjoy day by day, right? Take on whatever's coming, I guarantee you down the line, you're gonna enjoy it way more than if you're just like, I just gotta get through this test, I gotta get through this quarter, blah, blah, blah. Next year I'm a senior, I apply for college, deuce, like I'm never gonna come back to Rhode Island, right? That's what everyone thinks. But in reality, take it day by day, slow down. It's hard, but slow down, and I guarantee you things will get better.
What advice can you give them on being a student?
Work hard. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. That's my formula in life. Work hard, be disciplined, right? If you really want something and you're just like clowning around and joking, you're never gonna get it, right? But if you actually set a goal, focus on it, figure out how to get there, I guarantee you, even if you fail, you're still gonna accomplish that goal. But what does that entail? You gotta be disciplined, right? You gotta put in the work. You gotta work hard. You can't just slag. So it's an opportunity for you all to really think about it like, okay, how do I get from point A to point B to point C, right? And it's not that simple all the time. But I think that's the main thing I would say is figure out a goal. Figure out the process to get there. And I guarantee you, regardless of whatever comes out, you're still gonna get there.
And does the same formula relate to being an adult?
Oh no, adulting is a weird thing. I don't think you're ever prepared to be an adult, as weird as that sounds, but you really aren't. Like life is a very odd thing, and then one day you think everything's going great, and the next day everything just like turns upside down. But I think that in order to be a productive adult, or a happy adult at that, I think the number one thing is to figure out a balance in life, right? Once you start adulting, you're gonna work a lot, you're gonna have personal responsibilities, so it's kind of hard to juggle all of it. But if you learn to balance all that somehow, some way, then everything starts to run a little bit more smoothly. So I would say that based on the formula, regardless of when you graduate college or whatever you do with your life, still need to work hard and you still need to be disciplined in order to accomplish whatever you do want to accomplish.
And does adulting automatically come with maturity? Or?
No, absolutely not. So like I said earlier, I'm 30. What are you all? 16, 17?
16. Well, she's 17.
17. All right. It's so funny because when I come to the school and I sign checks, sometimes I'm like, I still remember. I remember my locker. I remember walking by and hanging out with some of my best friends, right? And to this day, still some of my best friends. Shout out to Doroxy, Debbie Chabelli, all those TIMES2 people. I have an opportunity right now, right? But like, truly, that was an experience of a lifetime, right? To see, you know what's the coolest part about being in high school? You hang out with the same people, especially Times Square, right? Because I'm sure you probably all been friends with since the same people from like 6th grade or whenever you started elementary school. You might go to college or you might not, right? Depending on whatever happens. But the goal is to pursue higher education, right? You pursue higher education and you might not be friends with those people for 4 years or 6 years, whatever it is. You might not. For whatever reason, once you're done, once you hit like 22, 23, it's like you all come back. And the way we came back was a Christmas party. Someone threw an ugly sweater party and we all came back and we all started talking and we all started hanging out again. And now it's so cool because we really are adulting together, right? We were kids together, we were teenagers together, and now we're legit adults, like families and like huge responsibilities. So it's pretty cool to really see and keep that relationship going.
I have one final question.
Yeah.
And it's from one of our fellow students. How can she make herself more recognizable to colleges?
So I don't have the experience in that world to kind of answer that question. But I actually had this conversation recently with my wife about how hard it is for kids to go to school now because it's so competitive. I would say this. Your number one priority, in my opinion, and that's just my own biases, is to do your best in school, right? If you're working hard, if you're disciplined, and you're working towards that goal, you're gonna perform well in school, right? So grades is a critical component, obviously, right? You're obviously standardized testing and all that. But I think in order to be different, you need to actually be different, right? What does that entail? I think throughout this whole college application process and before you start applying for college, be who you are and stay true to that, right? If you enjoy music, dabble in it, right? If you enjoy the arts, pursue it, right? If you're an athlete, if you like sports, if you like sneaker collecting like I did when I was growing up, it was a fantastic opportunity to be different, right? It's very competitive out there, but there's only truly one of you. So you gotta be able to present that to schools, right? You gotta show them that I'm the best of the best and this is why. But I will say, again, it all comes with a balance, right? Like if you're just too academic, that becomes a problem. If you're just too athletic, that's a problem. Being well versed in life is an art. And I think that's probably the most important and one of the most important things to adult, right? You don't want to be that one person in life where all they know is about finance, all they know is about education. You want to be that person who can go to a cocktail hour and be able to talk about philosophy, be able to talk about music, be able to be ratchet all at the same time, right? It's just the reality of life. So I think if you can balance all that together, that gives you an edge up. So that would be my best advice for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I did it. That's what happens. I give you guys the standardized response, and then I was like, all right, let me switch it up on you.